Welcome back, Philosophy 135. Dr. K here. I hope you all are doing well. So in our last video, we had a basic introduction to the course. And one of the things I told you in that introduction is we're going to start the semester off with a study of some basic concepts of logic. And the reason we're going to do this is, one, it's going to serve the foundational skills part of the course. And another reason is it's going to set us up to do the rest of the work we're going to have to do in the philosophical part of the course, and examining all the arguments that we're going to examine and think about in relation to God. So in this video, we're going to begin our discussion of some basic concepts in logic. I want to start off by saying logic, we could think of it as the anatomy of thought. What do you do in an anatomy class? Well, you take a unit of analysis, a body, and you break it up into parts. You label the parts, talk about how the parts are related to each other, when they're functioning properly, this type of thing. Well, when it comes to logic, the unit of analysis is an argument. And all we're going to do is talk about what an argument is, what the parts of an argument are, when an argument's functioning properly, and when it's not. That's it. So let's go over some of these key terms and concepts in logic that I want you to know. The first is a proposition. And we're going to define a proposition as a sentence that can be true or false. Other terms you might hear of that are synonymous with proposition might be statement, claim, declarative sentence, things like that. Examples of propositions are the following. God exists. God is all-powerful. God cannot be thought not to exist. Each of those sentences could be true or it could be false. Thus, each is a proposition. And you could think of many other examples, I'm sure. The grass is green, etc. But where I can, I want to try to use examples related to the theme of our course, namely God. A second term that I want you to get down, and really the central one here, is argument. So what is an argument? An argument is a set of propositions in an evidential relationship. It's the combination of a claim and the evidence offered for it. Examples. Get two examples here. Argument A. 1. God is a perfect being. 2. Existence is a perfection. 3. Thus God exists. So 1 and 2 function as evidence for 3. When you have a set of propositions in an evidential relationship, that's an argument. Let's turn to argument B. So 1, evil is a thing. 2, God is the source of all things. 3, thus God is the source of evil. So here we have propositions and 1 and 2, and they're functioning as evidence for 3. And whenever you have a set of propositions where some are functioning as evidence for another claim or another proposition, you have an argument. So an argument's a set of propositions in an evidential relationship. The third concept here is an argument form. And the argument form is the abstract structure of the argument. So an example would be A is B, B is C, thus A is C. An example of an argument that had that structure could be something like God is all good, things that are all good never do wrong, thus God never does wrong. Another example of an argument that had that structure would be God is all powerful, things that are all powerful can do anything, thus God can do anything. So notice those are two different arguments in terms of content, but there's one in the same abstract form which each instantiates with different content. There are many different possible argument forms, potentially an infinite number of them. The one that I showed you is a common one, but there are many others. I just want you to get the notion down of what the form of an argument is. The next notion we're going to discuss is a premise. So a premise is a proposition in an argument that functions as evidence. And if we want examples of these, we can look at propositions number 1 and 2 in arguments A and B above. Those are both premises because they're propositions, they're sentences that can be true or false, and they're functioning as evidence for another claim, namely the claim in 3 in each argument. The next term or part of an argument that we're going to discuss is a conclusion. So a conclusion is the proposition in an argument that's being argued for. It's the end point of the reasoning in an argument. And examples of conclusions would be proposition 3 in arguments A and B above. All right, so in this video, we talked about what an argument is and what its parts are. So an argument is a set of propositions where some function is evidence for the other, and the parts of an argument are propositions. And whether a proposition is a premise or a conclusion depends on how it functions in the argument. When a proposition is functioning as evidence in an argument, then it's a premise. And when a proposition is the thing that's being argued for, then it's a conclusion. In the next video, we're going to talk about the different properties that an argument might have depending. I have to take cover out here. In the next video, we're going to talk about the different properties that an argument might have depending on how the parts are related to each other and depending on the quality of those parts, whether they're true or not. So I'll see you in the next video. Dr. K out.